Hi everyone. We are doing our session 18 today with D365 UGME. Thanks everyone for joining all the way from wherever you are. And session 18, we are doing it on export of electronic reporting session, how to recognize the data source, tables and data types. Uh, Today agenda is we have our group introduction and then we will explain what is the today's session and what is our upcoming session. And views expressed are from the speakers and do not represent from their employees or Microsoft. Contest demo data and lab environments are used for the event. Any recommendations coming out of the session should not be applied to production environment directly, should be tested in a sandbox environment. And the session will be recorded on Teams. And if you do not consent to be part of recorded session, then this is the good time to disconnect. So we are on social media and we have group volunteers, me and Umesh Pandit are managing this group. And you have the QR codes of the LinkedIn and YouTube channels. If you wanted to go through our previous sessions, you can go through this. So these are our previous sessions, which are there on YouTube. You can go through them and check our content if you wanted to see any other. And today's session, we are doing it with Dhruv Kumar. Hi, Dhruv. Thanks for joining. And this is on ER export session,
Yeah,
how to
hi.
recognize the data source table and all. And Dhruv, you can connect with Dhruv on this email ID. And he is a Microsoft certified professional from Microsoft long time and 8+ years of experience on Microsoft Dynamics. And he started working on X 2009 and 12 and right now on F&O. And you can reach him on the LinkedIn profile. Over to you, Dhruv.
Yeah, thanks, Venkat. So I'll be sharing my screen. Just a sec. Let me know if it's visible. Hope it is visible.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, so first of all, I basically would like to clear off a few of the things. As I initially I thought so that this is basically is going to be that functional, but we have also functionals who have been working into this industry for very long that they do have the idea of technicals being working with the integration part and so and so. Okay, so I'll be giving the overview. Basically I have covered the integration part in the month of March with Microsoft with Umesh's same UG D360. You can go on YouTube, you can have a look at it. That how I just completed with that. So I'll be just talking on few on the points, then I'll just complete with the basic overview and the data types from the main game, and followed by finding the right data source. Now, the integrations. So integration basically is just consuming and exporting the data. Moreover, that when you're creating a copy of it, when you're exporting the data at the very same time when you're consuming from the third party. Now coming to integrate, how we can integrate using the D365. There are two ways. Either you can consume the same API or like host-to-host integration using the same, right? Uh, and it can also be done through the same way that we are doing the standard integration, standard way of creating the electronic reporting by creating the new from scratch configurations, or you can modify the existing ones. So when you modifying these existing ones, the terminology it's called deriving. So when you're deriving it, that means you're making a copy of it, and you can make the amendments as per you, as per the business requirements. This is the overview, and afterwards that we have the basic overview with that that what does integration, or sorry, what does electronic reporting do in terms of architecture. Uh, Let me share the other sheet in just a sec. I'll be sharing screen, so hope you can see my screen. Hope this is visible to you guys, right?
Yes, Dhruv.
Yeah. So we all know here, as electronic reporting being the part of from last 5 years, 5 to 6 years in mainstream. And this is very obvious that now we have more blogs available than 5 years back. We have more content available than 5 years back, right? That we have evolved. And the same time, electronic reporting also evolved the same day, right? Earlier, we don't have that much of provisioning to have the copy of it, or the, you can say, the in context of features. So right now, there are much more than reliability, much more than stability that available with electronic reporting. As we have the plus point, we also come close to the limitations. Now, as we know that this is a tool basically that allows to connect with the backend, which we call AOT as a technical knows, and also the functional knows that they work all together closely with developers, right? It has been introduced with Microsoft to avail the low code no code policy, so that there will not be dependency on the downtime side to deploy or to make the changes on the documents. The documents as in the purchase orders, the sales order, the sales invoice, the purchase invoice or vendor invoice. Those are the document prints, right? So there can also be possibility that you can create multiple formats as it has been mentioned here, and country specific that you would like to do. For example, if you see any UK specific, the vendor payments that is called BACS, BACS BACS. That is the vendor payment. Similarly, that you use for anything for bank integration that can be export in any of the formats in CSV, Excel, JSON, anything that you specifically need to be as in place. Similarly, the design is very much formula based, Excel based formulas, right? So, for example, concatenate, format, and or, right? So, these are the formulas which is available there. Some if, similarly, that is available. There is also provisioning available from the backend that we can create a new formula. But as described, or as has been, best practice from the Microsoft been described, that name should be the same as Excel. So it can be usable and it can be understandable the same way that they are understanding than Excel. Design side, it is very much easy to get the changes on. It is very much easy to understand, and you can also make your own design. So there are two ways to create the design. The first one is Excel design. The second is MS Word design. Both are available, but the workings are different. The first working is basically you can create your own Excel. You can just, give the name as naming manager, give the name range, so and so, and you can import it. And similarly, it can be create those bindings, the elements, and you can bind it. Whereas in the Word format, you have to first import it, and later on you need to download it in order to map, because that way your developer option will be available for you. And there is other settings also, and other application which is there that you can use in terms of finance auditing, tax reporting, like GSTR1, GSTR2, electronic invoicing. There is a framework available which is called electronic message model framework. Earlier the name was only electronic messaging. Now the few years back the name also got changed. The same model has multiple countries availability. Like one of the example I would say for India, e-invoicing that is also there. For MTD, making tax digital for UK, that is also under the same model. Then EDI integration, which is also there, you can use 850 for creating the sales order. You can use a standard data entity. You can use the standard tables. You can use the standard views if you have the knowledge on. We will be covering it later on, a little later on. Just to giving the the heads up, the overview, so that we will be on the page. If you know the electronic reporting overview and you've been working on, that's very good. If you don't know, that's I'm just giving you the overview that how you can conclude and do the changes, so that when you started working on it, it is not the first time that you know it. Similarly, how to do the configuration. The first thing is to have the configuration, right? So the configuration provider on the right hand side, now it is coming at the bottom. It's the old screenshot, so sorry for that. So you can go and just say do the same. There are two ways to do it. Either you can go into the workspace starting from organization administration, top second, which is the workspace electronic reporting, and go into the configuration provider, make your own and set is active. Or you can go into organization administration, then expand the electronic reporting, and then so on, the configuration provider. Likewise, and then we have the repository. So at the moment, LCS or global repository that is being deprecated, you have to connect with Dataverse. So the Dataverse configuration basically is available only for the tier 2, not for the tier 1. So it is because everything has been moved from RCS side, because RCS also been deprecated last year. So that's been moved from uh, the sorry, this year. And RCS things that's been cloud moved from to Globalization Studio. So that is purely cloud. In order to do that, we have to have the connection with Dataverse, and that's to be on Dataverse, that means tier 2 from UAT or sandbox that you prefer to. This is the screen that you, when you go inside of your repository, and from there you can import as you wanted, that as per your country needs, like DK or Denmark, or whatever the company that you're working for or your client for, you can just import it. Similarly, you can also recognize it on get the filter from here, the recognition that you have this contains or starts from, right? The coming to the ER workspace, which does looks like this, as in the configuration, you can go directly inside if you have everything, every configuration in place, or if you're working from scratch, right? So you can go directly from organization administration, expand the electronic reporting, and the first option is the configuration. Click on there, then you'll see this configuration workspace, where every sort of cooking recipe will be there as your new uh, electronic reporting. This is how the designer looks. I'm just letting you know, we'll go into the system, we'll see that how we can do the changes and so, what are the data types that we have, and how we can recognize the system as per the data sources. Now there are multiple things available, like you see that in the system, that there is amount, there is trans date, that what data type is it for, and how we can recognize it, right? The way that it is being looked at it. Because from the front end UI, that form, you can't just be specific that this is an integer and so and so. So that's supposed to be given the clarity to, and the same way that you can create the new uh, configurations. So I'm just wrapping up this overview thing, that electronic reporting can be used in the listed one, the government compliances, like we are sending the e-invoice to the government, the way it is, it's supposed to, when it gets registered, we'll be getting back with something. Then the tax reporting, like GST and GST2, something revenue that you have been using on, bank payments, receipt, trading reports, and more. Customer side electronic invoicing or EDI 10, 857 and more. Vendor side, electronic invoicing can also be done from the vendor side. And then payments, EDA 850, and 861, right? Localization through also global tax engine, right? That also been configured. So this is all from the their side. Then we have the business document management, which is again the main area is electronic reporting. And overall, the part is basically the on the top of that configure business document is there. So I would like to update you that earlier the business document is having that you can go and make the changes to it. Right now it is just are the fewest one, mainly that you can go and just make the change on the standards one. If you are making any changes to your your own configuration, you won't be able to see much. And so which is why I'm telling all of you to just focus on electronic reporting. If you're making change or if you want to learn, starts from here only, right? So the MS Learn documents, it is now updated, and it is having most of the, you can say, the information. As compared to 5 years back, it was nothing there, right? So now it is having the access to. This is a list of the documentation that is from the, as per the modules, the accounts payable, the you can say accounts, sorry, the payment advice, payment advance invoice, purchase agreement confirmation, purchase order packing slip, and you can see, have a look on this till vendor invoice. This is under the module of AP, accounts payable. So this is the document printing, as I already taken the name of. Comes to account receivable, among with those sales. You can also see interest note, customer things, customer statement, letter note, collection letter. So these things also comes under the same, right? Delivery note. Similarly, project has fewer options, like project invoice with billing rules, project quotation, and then customer retention release. Warehouse, where the advanced warehousing thing, you can see all of these. Load sheet related picking or production containers and so and so. Then we have transportation management, which comes with commercial invoice, certification of origin, route, and load tender. And inventory, we have picking list order. Right, so these are the documentations, that document prints, where you can have a look at it and you can make the changes after deriving it, or you can make your own. Now, coming back to the system that I would like to start with. So before than that, I would like to give you some more brief about the data types. Sorry for that. Uh, yeah. So in the system, that from the functional side, who basically starting it or who has been working on it, but still not aware of that what data types are there in the present system, right? How you can recognize by just looking at it from the front end. The next time you are working with your developer, you can ease out those working. You can cut down that uh, to understanding of that what data type is it for while you are talking to a client or you're getting the requirement of. The first thing is to understand when you're seeing any numbers from the front end, any form of it. That means entirely D365, including any of the module. When you see any number, it comes under integer, right? It comes under an integer, example 1, 2, 3, 4, the complete numbers, right? It can be any number. Then we have the big int values that we called from the SQL side, and from the D364 it is called int64, means integer 64. 64 as in bit size. The memory is bigger, so it basically stores a bigger number. So likewise, the character go up to 10 digits. So when you open your record information, your form, when you go into options and click on the record info, and you see one field called record ID. So this is of this int64 data type. It contains 10. It basically is of a unique number pattern. That is a system design. When you create any record from the system throughout, you're creating new customer, new item, new vendor, even a new record in into the sales order on the header side or the line side. Every record contains a different or unique record ID. That is a rec ID, which is of int64 type. Then we have next string, which is, you can also say text, free text field. So it contains alphanumeric value. The example has been given as like, that these or any email, right? Or anything that you see, blah, blah on this. But the first thing is I would like to give you an example from the system that how you can recognize on that when you see the next time. Item ID is of a string type, customer number, vendor number, sales order number, purchase order number, site ID, voucher, invoice ID of everyone. That means your vendor invoice, your customer invoice, or your project invoice. These are same of this string type. Name, when you see any name there, right? The company name, the vendor name, the customer name, right? Even the terms like delivery, mode of payment, payment terms, description. So these are free text, right? Even the warehouse ID, which is the invent location ID from the backend name, but this is again the site ID. Similarly, same, it is of the free text field. So coming to the next one, the decimal value. So decimal value in system, that means in D360, when I say system means D365, it basically represent real name with the name of real. Right. So there are two mathematics here, that without decimal it is called integer, and with the 10 digit values, if you record it, it is basically called integer 64 int 64. And when you see any decimal value, it is called real data type. Now real data type is basically, you can see as in quantity, wherever you see the quantity field, it is of real type. If you see any amount, it is of real data type. Or if you see any line number, even yes, the line number is also, when I think it is shows as 1 2 3 4, but from the backend, if you go into see from the table side, it will be the same uh, decimal value within it, like 1.00, 2.00, right? So the line number is the from the technical name, but it is of same uh, real type. Comes to the next one, it is date. It is a shorter date. Shorter date, then we have you can see DDMMYY, or it can be DDMMYY, right? Or it can be year, month, and date. It can be anything. It is of a date type. Depending upon that, what format are you following, right? Then we have date time, which consists date and time, and it can be with the second, without second. It can be including t somewhere when you are integrating with someone, right? If you got some notification that it's supposed to be that, so it can be the same, including date and time. And we have then enum. So there is a difference if I say options or drop down. So what is that, is that in the system, when you see a fixed value, when there is no reference to go with, if you're creating a new sales order, you might have seen the open order, the confirmation, the approval, right? Invoiced. So that status is there. That is the enum value, because there is no master. If you right click on it, there is no reference to go with that view details, right? But when it comes to the drop down, other than that, the master is like that you have created a cust group or vent group. So when you're selecting, when you're creating a new customer, there is a drop down, right? So that coming from there. So it is basically depending upon the relations both of the data sources is having. So which is why there is a difference in enumeration. That means enum to select with, or the different data type. So enum is that a fixed value. Then we have boolean. Boolean means a checkbox or toggle, like yes, no, that you have seen, right? So it contains a value yes and no, true and false, and also from the backend, if you applying filter from the front end even. So if you want to see yes value, you can just simply put one. If you want to see a no value, you please simply put zero. That also works the same with true yes or false or no. So this is all the overview for the data type. And after that, we'll be seeing in the system that how is it going to be the similar way. Now, entering into the system that I just said that this is the UK one. Let's say that we go inside and check how we can create and see. So this is the standard ones. We'll see that in is. So as you can see that this is of standard one. Show details has to be applied in order to see the data types, and similar way mapping. Now, mapping as in you can see the mappings similar way, right? And coming into the formats, this is the header, this is the range. Okay. So this is our invoice currency, right? If I format it, let's say, yeah. So this is the currency, right? So this is as a string value. This is of a 3-letter consist. But when you're seeing in this, so we need to understand what is this at the rate. V formula at the rate means payments of covering letter, then followed by this structured. If I go into any of one of it, let's say, so you're starting to see that there is showing string. This is our string type, right? If I just expand any one of it, let's say it's real. You can say cross rate, right? So anything which is comes quantity, rate, decimal value which is there, it's of a real type. Currency, as I said, it's a string type. Exchange it again a string type, as exchange rate reference. Exchange rate, if you're saying you're putting a numeric value with with a decimal, it's a real type with with the identification of decimal value. Similarly, you can say string, but in order to see that, you have to enable the show details. Just make sure that you enable the show details, then you only be able to see that what data type is it for. Based on that, when you're creating anything or taking any requirement from the client, you'll be, working on that Excel mappings. You can also specify the data types. It will cut down the timing when any of the developer is creating, or when you're working on that ER part from the scratch in the data model. It will ask you that what data type is it. So if I go inside of this extension of this payment model and see, if I go inside and try to make any new. So first of all, it would ask my root. I said test root. This is the test root. After that, it will ask me to create any data type. You can see the item type is in the data type here. I would say the real, let's say quantity. So underneath, there will be one quantity. Now you can see that real type is there. You can change anywhere, anytime you come back and just do that. That is the availability. But at the same time, it is the same way that you save it and go inside, let's say, and let's say we go into the customer one. Hope you guys know about the directions. To model means you're exporting, to destination means you are importing. So now, yes, in order to create a two one, let's say make a new one. It will be test because it was a root. So that root will be found here. Test root. Give a name anything. Test root. It is fine. Save it and go to designer. You can see here, real is coming, right? If I had to bind with anything, so you can get the tables from here or single table. One thing I would like to mention it here is that would also seeing here this Dynamics 360 for retail. So this is for retail, and please collapse it when you're working, because sometimes what happens that you click here and go into add route and starting to look for the table, the same table couldn't be seen here. Similarly, the table records here, table here, and go up and just look for it. Now this was the data type. Anybody has any question at the moment? Anyone is having any question on the data types? We are clear, right? Real, integer, int 64, string, date, date time, and enum and boolean.
Yes, I think we're good. Go ahead.
Okay, fine. So next thing is that about the finding of data sources. Now, I have told you about inside of this, there are two types of data sources that I would like to first tell you. So on the left hand side underneath of Dynamics 365 one operation, this is the area model mapping designer, right? So first is table and then second is table record. Then what is the difference? If you click on table and click on add root while adding it, you'll see the same. If you see cust table, you'll see cust table, you'll see view, data entity, and so on. So you can also add it. Similar way, if I would like to add in the table records, this is also going to give me the same thing, right? But what is the difference? Now I'll tell you what is the difference, right? The same thing it is showing here. The difference is a table contains only a single record. How so? One example present in the system, when you go entirely anywhere in the parameters table, it can be your account receivable parameter. When you create any record in, it only allows you to save single record, which is why it is a parameter, right? It's a parametric thing. Similar way, the table option will give you access to choose from, but only to give you the parameters. When you're working on any logic and you have to pass and get the single record set from any table, so we use table. When you want to fetch a the same record set, like was, creating anything, it is a single record. There will be none. While the same thing when you go into the, uh, I think in, let's say, any one of it extra, if I go to customers, this is a record list. That means this is a table records. Table records are the same as record list. When you're creating in the data model, the name will be record list and record. Record is equal to the table. Record list is equal to table records. It is the same. So we get multiple records for that. So when you see creating anything, it is saving the multiple records here. But when it comes to single table, you have seen the parameter thing. The similar way, it is going to get work. Now going back to configurations. So similar way, when you're adding any table, let's say we'll add one table here. First table, the name we have given. First table, right? We'll just add it. I'm adding table records. We'll see. I know it is going to give me errors, but we'll see. Yeah, error it is. The name you can change. Record list. So if you see even the methods, just the method will show. None of the fields are coming. Right? This is the parametric way that you can get it from. But if you add a table records, you'll get everything. You'll get fields, you'll get method, you'll get relations, and so and so. Right? You'll get every field. But in order to do the modification, I mean to say optimization, so you can select the fields, but the moment you select the fields, it won't be showing anywhere. That means none of these methods, just this. If I'm selecting this reason, saving it and going back, clicking OK, you can see only this one. None of the method will come. In order to understand, you can see the fields and filters. Fields are filtered. It's showing here. The selected fields can also be used if you don't want to use the entire table in order to avoid the slowness. Now, how to recognize that which table is it from the form? Any form. The way is you go to any form. Okay, I was on the same all customers. So this is a grid page where you can see that it is showing all the records, right? When the moment I click on the account, it will show me the customer card, a single customer related information. The table are same, but it is the view that been blocked from the form side. So when you click anywhere from the top of the side, you see form information and form name. And when you click on it, this butterscotch menu will appear. On the right hand side, you will see the name of the form control type, then data source. This data source is the main that you need to focus on. Now there are two things. It will be without braces, small braces, and it will be without with space, because in the system there are tables which has been used for a different things, which is why you only focus on the under braces. That what is the actual name. Underneath the braces, it is the actual name. Most of the time, 90-95% timing, you will finding the same name. But some of the tables which has been used for a different, let's say it can be used for the same table are being used for vendor payments. The same table are being used for customer payment in the system. So they are basically changing by the name in the data source in the form in order to see. But underneath of the braces, you will find the same name. So always when you see that there is a discrepancy in the name, there is a gap, so try to compare both of it, right? So always take the braces one. So when you take this name in this field, sorry, this data source in the field, you know that where to take it from. You can note it down. When you note it down, and you can go into the same next one. That's how you understand. You when you get to know that okay, this is how you to take the field's name. You go inside of the customer page and go any of the tabs. Let's say credit and collections you would like to get on. Right click again, form name. You'll have this information available here. This is the field name. This is the table name. You can see that name was coming from dir party table and the customer information is being saved here in cust table. That's how you understood about that. So this is that way that you understand that. Let's say I got the dir party table. Now I have to add it. I'll go back to configuration. I basically select my own model or model mapping or format where I want to make the changes. Yes, we have to come back to model mapping only in order to add it something. I simply click on the table records. I want everything here. So the IFRD table, the same table it was showing. Copy the name, paste it here. I said okay. Now when I selected this group, which is why it is showing like in the segregated way that what fields are, what methods are, and so and so. We just focus on the fields now. Forget about everything. So just click on the group view. It will ease up everything. It will just segregate the types as in fields. So just focus on that. You have seen the name, right? Search it, name. You got the name. And there is a thing is that the name is same as the backend, and there can be differences from the backend and front end name. Backend means that what is the table name and what is the front end UI name. There can be different. So let's say we can take this info that or let's say this one. You can see the backend name is basically is without space. It says address book name, right? Whereas on the front end it is the address books. How we can just get this name inside of it. So this is that show name first. The moment you click show name first, the technical name in the braces will starting to outside, and whatever the name you have got it from that front end, you can just also search by it. And once you able to get the table name and you only able to find from the backend, sorry, front end name, you can also do that because that name is also coming here, the labels which has been there. Guys, you have any questions about it? I think I am done on this. Similar way, electronic reporting that we have covered, how the data is being gone. Yeah, over to you, Venkatesh. I think I'm done.
Thank you, Dhruv. Thank you so much for a insightful session on the electronic reporting series. Guys, this is one out of three sessions. We will be doing a couple of more sessions on electronic reporting with Dhruv. Very soon you will be seeing the schedule on it. And we have a big announcement that we are doing uh, a face-to-face AI Copilot sessions on January, and we are yet to finalize the date. And it will be available on our social media channels. Please do follow us, and you have our WhatsApp groups as well. Thank you so much for taking your time over the Friday evening and Fridays wherever you are, based on your time zones. And thanks, Drew. Thank you so much for taking time and giving us a session on electronic reporting, and which is very hot topic right now on Microsoft side. And thanks everyone. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, guys. Cheers. Bye.